Hello everyone, hope you're having a great day. It's Wellness Wednesday, and I would like us to take the next few minutes to talk about your emotional well-being. It's springtime. This is a time of year where most people dedicate to what we call spring cleaning. It's time where people take inventory, they assess, they evaluate to see if they can declutter to make room for new things. You've heard the term out with the old, in with the new. I'd like us to take the same approach with our emotional well-being. I'd like us to take inventory to see if there's some things we can remove, do some decluttering so that we can be more balanced. I want to bring you a message that I've shared previously called Builders and Breakers. It's just an extension where we're going a little bit deeper. I want to talk with you today about toxic relationships. Jesus spoke to his disciples about relationship in John chapter 15. He referred to himself as the true vine and his Father as the gardener. He said, every branch in him, or every branch that was connected to him, that was not bringing forth any fruit or was not being fruitful, the gardener would remove. And the branches that were connected to him that were being fruitful, the gardener will cut back so they could be more fruitful. He was talking to his disciples about relationship and being connected. And I want to ask you the question, are you in a relationship that's toxic? Are you around people that are toxic? How do you know if you're in a toxic environment? You'll know this because of the level of fruitfulness that is being produced. Are you around people where you're being fruitful, you're being abundant, where you're being productive? Or you're in a relationship that's feeding you, where you feel rejuvenated, where you feel energized, or do you feel drained? This is how you can evaluate whether or not you're in a toxic environment, around toxic people, or in a toxic relationship. If you're in a dead relationship that's pulling life from you, that's toxic. Jesus gave the analogy, say every branch in him that was not fruitful, the gardener would remove it. And even the relationships that are growing, that are prospering, the gardener would sometime cut it back so that it can produce more fruit. The truth is, we have to be honest with ourselves at times and ask ourselves if we're around the right people that are helping us to get to where we would like to be in life. We've heard the term that birds of a feather flock together. It's an old cliche, and I'm here to tell you, if you want to get a glimpse of your destination, check your affiliation. Check the people who you're connected with. Check the people who you're around. And we have to make sure that we're making decisions on a daily basis that will impact the rest of our lives. So if it's time for you to declutter, if it's time for you to do some removal, then it's springtime. It's the best time for you to take action. When it comes to relationships, David comes to mind. David had two people around him. There was a gentleman by the name of Joab, and then he had a gentleman by the name of Abishai. Coincidentally, they were brothers. Abishai and Joab were brothers. However, their relationship with David was completely opposite. Joab was considered a breaker, where he was a master manipulator, where he was very controlling, didn't follow directions very well. They were both under David's command. David was the king and they were serving under David. However, Joab caused David much chaos, heartache, pain, anguish, and agony. Abishai, on the other hand, was a builder. He was in David's life to strengthen David, to encourage David, to motivate David, to help David become a better king, to serve effectively. He added value to David's life. And there are two types of people in your life. One, we have people who are assets, where they're adding value. Or two, we have people who are considered a liability. They put you at risk. They're the ones that cause you to live a stressful life. They're very toxic. And how we deal with toxic people will help us grow and continue to be balanced. So it's time to take inventory. It's time to look within. It's time to look at your circle to determine whether or not you have toxic people around you, whether you're in a toxic relationship or in a toxic environment. You will have to face this reality at some point in time if you want to ensure that you are growing. When you're taking inventory, you're looking to see what you can improve. You're looking to see what you can do differently. You're looking to see what changes can be made so that you can get better results. So let's talk about toxic people and how we can better deal with the toxic people that may be around us. 1, we have to evaluate, reallocate, or eliminate. We have to understand that some people who are manipulators, controllers, the toxic people, they sometimes thrive when there's chaos. They thrive when there's confusion. It's almost how they're wired. It's unbelievable that you have people in this world that would do things to cause confusion and division, but that's what excites them. That's what motivates them. And we have these people around us every single day. We have to begin to evaluate to see if we can reallocate or we simply have to eliminate. When it comes down to the elimination process, it's difficult to sever relationships that you've had for years. But when you have to face the fact that it's draining you, it's depleting you, it's causing you more frustration to maintain the relationship than it's worth, then you may have to simply reallocate, or vice versa. You may care about them, but you have to realize that your presence in life is only suited by their needs. They're constantly pushing what they need and what's going on in their lives and how you can help them. They're never trying to add value to your life. The moment you can't do something to help them, the moment you cannot agree or go along with them, they'll get upset with you and try to find someone else to align themselves so that will agree with them. These people are hungry for attention. If this person must remain in your life, you have to evaluate their role. You have to determine the kind of role they'll play in your life. You have to limit your exposure. You can put yourself in a position where you're always there at their beck and call, because they become so dependable on you and they want you to feel guilty that if you're not able to help them, that there is no other way they can be assisted. They're taking you on an emotional roller coaster that they're on, and they're not stable and they want you to become unstable. You can avoid giving them this emotional ammo where you're always there for them. You have to set some boundaries. You keep telling yourself that you won't give in, that you're going to say no, but at the end of the conversation, you're saying yes. You have to decide. Either you're going to eliminate or you're going to reallocate. You're going to define the role that they play in your life and how frequently you have encounters with them based on the nature of the relationship. There are some relationships that just cannot be severed, but you can prioritize. You can place certain relationships in certain categories where they've been reallocated. 2, don't ignore bad behaviors. Sometimes people need a reality check. It's common to ignore the behavior of a difficult person, of a toxic person, of a person who loves conflict. But if you ignore it, it's not going to go away. People just continue to be blissfully unaware of the problem that you're causing. And if you go the route of avoiding it, then it will never be addressed. It can be hard to use reasoning and tools to help people understand the damage that they're causing in the relationship, the impact that they're having on your personal well-being, on your emotional well-being. It's hard to try to help them to understand how you feel at the end of each conversation, but it is necessary. It is necessary. You cannot continue to avoid confronting a situation. And we can do this in a very polite manner, in a very amicable manner. You can be blunt, but yet still kind and effective. Your words, it's how you say things that sometimes can make the difference. And you don't want to put yourself in a position where you've been backed in a corner and you're so frustrated that you're about to explode, that you get angry and you begin to lash out because it paints your character in a bad light. That's not who you truly are. So confront the issue. Deal with the issue head on. Don't try to avoid it another day. You have to take action, and you have to take action now. 3, we have to establish boundaries. It's important that we understand that we are in control. We can control the tempo. We can control the time. We can control the tone of the conversation. Because if you just let people go, they'll operate without any kind of limits. And if you're not careful, they consume all of your time. You want to walk away, but they just want to keep talking, and it's draining you. It's pulling from your energy. Maybe you cannot change things instantaneously, but set boundaries. One step at a time, one boundary at a time. Start out by telling them how you like to communicate. Then you tell them when you'd like to communicate. And then you tell them how long you'd like to communicate. You have to set healthy boundaries. It's okay for people to vent. It's okay for people to come to you. You have to establish the limit of how much you can handle, how much you can take on, how much you can deal with in a given day, in a given week, in a given month. You have to set some boundaries. 4, we have to manage our temper. I know we try to be so polished. We try to be so composed. We try to be very professional. We try to maintain a high level of intelligence. But there's some people that knows exactly what to say to get under our skin. And these people will take advantage of every opportunity because they want to shine. They want to be in the limelight. They want to be the person at center stage. And if we're not careful, we'll become angry. And it begins to show, and people begin to see that. We want to make sure that we're managing our anger. We can do this by shifting our focus from the person that's trying to hoard all the attention to something more positive. Don't get caught up in their circus. Don't get caught up in their antics. Don't get caught up in their acrobatics. Shift yourself to a positive place where you're able to manage your temper. 5, we have to become thick-skinned. Most people argue that being thick-skinned is overrated, but the truth is it's necessary. We have to develop a thick skin where we're not overly sensitive. It's a difficult balance, but we can get there. People who are very thin-skinned, who easily get offended, easily get rattled, they're easy prey for toxic people because the toxic people become the aggressors and they want to prey on you. But the moment you begin to develop a thick skin, where you begin to grow a thicker layer, where you're just going to just stand up and tell people that you're not going to just go along with what they want you to do. You're not going to go along with the program. You're not going to go along with the things that they're trying to do. And no matter how they criticize you, no matter how they ostracize you, no matter how they try to belittle you, your skin is thick enough to tell them that this is your stance. This is where you stand. You're not going to flip-flop. You're not going to go back and forth. You're not going to give in so that someone can be comfortable. Sometimes we yield and we give up the right of way so others can feel good. Being thick-skinned is simply standing your ground. You learn not to take things personally, especially when people are trying to use it to belittle you and for you to feel inferior. The thickness of your skin is a healthy balance where you're able to walk away and still have a smile on your face. 6, we have to ask more questions. We have to listen more. Asking questions is one of the most powerful things that I've learned. I've seen it neutralize several situations. I've used it to neutralize several situations. Because toxic people who complain a lot and try to put their issues on other people, they're not solution driven. They don't want a solution. They just want to vent. They just want to drag you down. There's a saying that misery loves company. But by you asking questions, you push them in a position where they have to face the reality of finding a solution for their problem. By asking more questions, you put the mirror in front of them for them to see their true character, that they're very negative, they're very shallow, they're very egotistical, they're very narcissistic. Ask more questions, but ultimately, what are you going to do? We've outlined 6 principles. Are you going to take action? Are you going to start doing some spring cleaning in your life so that your emotional well-being can be better? You deserve better emotional health. You deserve to be stress-free. You don't have to live in a toxic environment. You don't have to be around toxic people. You don't have to be in toxic relationships. It's time for you to cut some things off. It's time for you to cut some relationships back so that you can experience better emotional health. Hope this helped you in some way. Have a great week, and I'll talk with you next time.